Hello, everyone. This is your host, Shashwat, and I would like to welcome you all to another phenomenal episode of Ecell VIT's official podcast, Ruminate. With great honor, I would like to welcome Mr.Satanik Roy for today's podcast. Mr. Roy is the co-founder of HyperXchange, which is a Forbes 30 under 30 startup. And he's also a renowned author. With a post-graduation degree from the prestigious Stanford University and with years of experience in the entrepreneurial sector, Sataniks sir is a storehouse of information from which students can gain real-life lessons. So without any further ado, let's get started. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sir, your journey is something which I'm sure would inspire everyone present here. From Kolkata to Stanford to becoming the co-founder of such a successful startup. So can you tell us something about your journey as well as about HyperXchange?
I started my entrepreneurial career way back at the age of 18. All right. So HX is my second startup. So my first startup was somewhere, basically, we started around web development as most of the entrepreneurs start out to, right? We went into the financial segment a bit before exiting from it successfully. And then it was HyperXchange. HyperXchange was an idea which was catered towards the aspirational products, right? I mean, being someone who loves aspirational devices like the iPhones and the Macs of the world, right? We realized there's a huge gap in the market. $25 billion market back in 2016. Now it's a $100 billion market, 95% of which was gray. And there could not be a better reason to not dive into this market. I mean, think about the logistics space just 10 years back. It was totally an unstructured gray area. The Olas, Ubers, and the Revagos of the world came in, structured the entire market. That was the opportunity, and I think somewhere we were at the right place at the right time. That's all.
Great, sir. Like the whole concept behind HyperXchange and your journey is really inspirational. Sir, as we are now talking about HyperXchange, one thing which comes to my mind is that for a person like you who has so many glorifying achievements, it wouldn't have been difficult to get a well-paid or well-settled job. So what made you start your journey as an entrepreneur? Like, why did you choose this sector?
See, I believe like we all have a journey. Anyone who probably even takes up a 9-to-5 job, they have a journey and an ambition of their own, right? It's not always being an entrepreneur or creating a different story out there, probably being on the headlines of a magazine that really makes a difference. We all can have our own specified journey. We all love to have our own journey, right? For me, it was different. I mean, I was aspirational. I really wanted to do something which probably the world will remember forever, right? That was my part. That was my story, and I think somewhere living it is like a dream come true, right? So many startups fail every year, but persistence. I mean, persistence is one of the key things I always believe is important for any entrepreneur out there. Being persistent and staying in the journey for the last 5 years, and now scaling this up to a level where probably just like you guys, so many people honor and probably recognize the journey is of course something I'm really humble about. Really love to say a thank you to everyone who supported me throughout this entire thing.
Right, sir. Like even I completely agree with this thing. Like the confidence and your hard work, like of not the feeling of not giving up is something which is most important in this journey. So like coming to the next part, sir, is that when we talk about startups or entrepreneurs, one thing which is very important is the domain selection part. So you mentioned it earlier also, like about why you consider this, but can you tell us something more about why did you choose the refurbished sector?
See, we did not choose anything. I mean, to be very honest, when we started out, it was a totally different concept. I mean, so basically why, somewhere we were trying to connect the first years with the final years of a college, right? I mean, the first years when they join a college, they need the exact same things. The final years are moving out. They seem to keep back, right? Probably from your wardrobes to your beds to your books whatsoever. In most of the colleges will find the first years and the final years will probably have the lowest conversation or interaction because of a lot of factors. These are super seniors, and on the other hands, due to ragging and etc., right? They probably have a separate, say, hostel or a setup, right? So that was the idea that probably an in-campus, say, transactional facility was something we're planning about, right? From that one to probably becoming a brand which deals with premium refurb devices is something which I would say the market demand made us do it. So it's a transformation that does not happen overnight. It's a transformation that does not happen from a single brain, right? My co-founders, say my entire team, I think we ideated nights and nights to finally do what we are doing today. And we did several different things in middle, right? We did so many things. We failed at so many things. We tried and also succeeded at so many things. So everything is part of the journey. It's not about a single try. It's not about a single yes or no, and that's it. It doesn't happen that like that. You fail, and then probably you get back and find that single formula. I always say something. There are 10,000 ways something cannot work out, but there are 2 or 3 ways that by which it will work out. We have to find those 2 or 3 ways.
Yes, perfect. Even I feel that India has a huge population to offer, and coming up with refurbished phones and any other kind of electronic device, it bridges the gap between the people. It increases the affordability of these products. So I guess it's kind of a revolution in the Indian market.
Definitely.
Now come.
Sorry to interrupt you, but definitely on the other hand, I mean, what really transformed the market altogether was the pandemic. I mean, look at the pandemic. 2020 happened, right? While say there was one laptop that could suffice the entire home need. Now all homes need at least 4 laptops, right? The parents are working from home, the kids are studying from home, right? At the same time, there have been so many people who have lost their jobs. There has been haircuts and salaries. People are now looking for affordable options. I mean, as I just mentioned, being at the right place at the right time, that is something very important, and that doesn't, you can't plan it. It just happens by its own.
Yeah, and I feel it also makes efficient utilization of the resources which might have got wasted also. So
True.
overall, this concept is really, really beneficial for a country like India. Let's move further. I feel that's the Indian start. When we talk about Indian startups, they have been quite successful in capturing the Indian market. But when they go to when it comes to competing in the international market, they sometimes face ups and downs. So what kind of strategies Indian startups should use so that they can make their mark in the international market?
Couple of things over here. Two viewpoints over here. First and foremost, saying if it's I think India or Bharat, it's actually a huge market, right? What I mean by Bharat is the tier 2, tier 3. It's such a huge market. Like if you even cater to just the Indian audience, it's a huge potential market that one can tap in. I mean, it will take you decades to probably tap in the entire Indian ecosystem and the entire Indian market. That will take a huge time. But having said that, if you are probably looking forward to build a global product, the only thing that one should focus on, is it something that solves a pain point, right? If it solves a pain point, is it something that is solving a pain point just in India or global? I mean, work on the pain point, whatever it is, right? Uh, if it's not about catering to a global market, it's about finding the right pain point for the right people, right? Something might be right in India, might not be right in across the borders, right? That's the difference out there.
Yes, I completely agree with your point on this. So you have been working in the entrepreneurial domain for a long time. As you said, it's the second startup. So and there have been many traditional management practices which are being continued at this point of time. So what glaring mistakes did you see with the traditional marketing practices, which budding entrepreneurs who are currently in college or something should try and avoid?
I mean, in terms of marketing, the main focus, I would always say, whenever you're marketing, you should always focus on one thing. You should outsource everything else. Build a brand. I mean, that is one and first and foremost thing you should focus on. Say, for example, if you're selling something, try to figure out how do you create a distribution channel and get the distribution, solve the sales part of it. Probably if you're into product development, right? Try to create enough automation that the entire product development and management is taken care. There's no human error or human intervention needed, and you have all the time to focus on branding whatever the concept you're trying to sell out there. Sell the concept. Everything else falls in place.
Correct. Nain, I had a personal question also, sir. It's related to the previous one also. For students like me who are in, for example, I'm in second year, or my seniors who are in third or fourth years, we are always in a dilemma. When is the right time to start a startup? Whether it's just after graduation, or we should work in the corporate sector for a while and then go with the startup.
It was yesterday.
Correct, sir. But still, like, there's still like confusion. Like,
As
experience is important.
as I just answered to my first question, all right, we all have a different journey. We all have a different thought process. Someone might be thrilled taking up an entrepreneurial career, right? But everything is tough. As tough probably a salaried employee, right, who probably has to work at a specific domain, right, and there are probably orders or say different requirements that has to be followed up with seniors, etc. And there's probably a certain say timeline of growth. I mean, probably from junior developer to senior developer to team lead. There's definitely a specified timeline of growth. I mean, it happens over say couple of years, whatsoever the timeline of a corporate is, right? That might be really different if you're working with a startup, but it comes with its own challenges. It comes with probably, while there's thrill, there's the roller coaster journey, right? It definitely has its own challenges, right? So basically, it is you who have to decide what you are up to. Are you looking for an experience before you start up? Because it's very important to have experience. I mean, being early in my career, I've goofed up so many times, right? And uh, unless I probably had the support and the direction from people who have guided me and who have paved the way, it would have been really difficult. So while experience is important, it is also important for you to decide when can you really leave the comfort of say a salary of a monthly salary of probably a life which gives you stability, and probably dive into something which will probably burn your pockets for the next 2.5 3 years till you start making your revenues and till you start making your profits, etc. That's important for you to choose when you're ready for it.
What I get from this discussion is basically that depends on person to person.
Correct.
Like whenever he's ready for it, he can go for it. Because
But
I feel that startups are.
I always feel starting early does have a lot of advantages. I mean, if you're starting at your 20s, right, there's probably less pressure in terms of say family dependency, etc. And you can probably try 2 3 different things at the same point of time and figure out what you are best at, what is probably the thing that you are looking forward to, right? So
Yeah.
starting early definitely has advantages. At the same time, it does have the disadvantage of lack of experience. So yes, choose the either.
Yeah. So I guess that the most important thing is that your perseverance, like persistence, basically. Like
Correct.
you have to be like regular with your work. You don't have to give up because
Work
challenges are
discipline is
something
very
which are
important.
associated with entrepreneurship. So you need to be
Work,
confident every time. So keep working. Yes, sir.
work
Go on.
discipline is very important. No matter what you do, if you are in a startup, work discipline is even more important. It's not I wake up at say 11 in the morning and go to my office. That doesn't happen when you're into a startup. You probably work till 3 in the morning and wake up and get back to office probably 7 in the morning again. That's how it works.
Yeah, because startup is something in which you give your 100%. You have to create your assets on your own. You have to bring in people of your own. You have to bring in sponsorship. So like it's completely dependent upon you.
True.
So for a period of time, you just have to come up with expenditure something, and after a long while, return comes up. So
That's true.
persistence is something very important in this domain. Correct, sir. Coming to the next part is that, sir, challenges and hardship as we are discussing at this point of time are related with the startups. So according to you, what can be your biggest failure? And the most important part is how did you get over it? Because failures are a part of everyone's life, and how you overcome it is the biggest lesson which you can
Uh, for me, my personal biggest failure, I would say, I probably the pace. We actually goofed up a lot of things throughout, right? When we did, I mean, the experience would have played handy. Sometimes I feel, I should have probably had more experience, as you just mentioned, right? Going back to a corporate, right? Having an experience, coming back and then doing a startup, right? That might have helped. While that is true, there's no regret since, after a certain point, we learn up, right? And once we learn it up, it is there. It is there for you. And the best thing about a startup is you do not have to work in a single domain. You know about finance, you know about operations, you know about sales, you know about branding, you know about marketing, you know every part of it. Even if not deep, you have a hands-on experience of every part of it. It's not that you're probably working in a certain project under a certain domain and that is it. So that's a better part around it. So for me, in terms of a personal failure, I would just say maybe a little more of experience would have helped. That's it.
Correct, sir. Basically we are talking about a startup. So like you have already mentioned that for being successful, being persistent, being hardworking is very important. You need to be disciplined. But these are the common things. So if we move more technically, like in your particular domain, what can be your basic successful mantra, like which made you so successful in the refurbished sector, to be honest?
In the refurbished segment, I think the good thing we did is we realized what the problem in the market was, right? We have a lot of patented technologies we use, all right, and that clearly addresses the main points. I mean, why is a market which is $100 billion market is still 95% gray, right? The basics of it is it does not have facts, figures, or say data about devices which are moving in the entire ecosystem. I think that is the first and foremost place we worked upon, right? There's a funnel. We created something we call the Faraday, which is a AI ML platform. It uses both hardware and software technologies. All right, it's both a hardware and a software platform that we have created, and I think that is probably one of the biggest success results we have been successful throughout in terms of our margins, in terms of time to market, and controlling the entire ecosystem around it.
Correct. One more thing which is related to this is so that India is currently, I feel that so refurbished sector is something which is very new to India, right? People either focus on second-hand products or newly generated products. So according to you, what can be your strategy to clear this gap which is existing at this point of time, to make people get the confidence that the refurbished phones or any electronic device can offer you the same facilities which any normal phone can also do?
See, definitely, I think that there's always been a setback in terms of say refurbish or say second hand, right? The issue was very common. I mean, it was an issue because it was unstructured. I mean, no one wants to go back to a Gafar market to buy a product because if that person says, "Kal agar kuch issue hua, mere paas aa jana," why will you trust that person? You're probably seeing for the first time, right? Now think about the same thing. Why do you trust Amazon more than Snapdeal? Because you are assured about
The quality,
yeah, exactly, the quality part of it, the brand part of it, right? And it comes back to you when you're in need, right? So there are a lot of things we have technically worked upon in terms of our warranty, in terms of our after service sales, that really clearly focused out to be one of the biggest successful elements around it. I mean, we are the first in the industry to have a 12 months doorstep warranty for our products. That was industry first, and later on a lot of structured players followed after us on the similar one, right? So I think focusing on the right things, as I just mentioned, focus on the pain points. Why will a person come back to you, right? Those are the things, if you focus on, you clearly have a definite answer for all of them.
I feel that this sector is all based on the trust people have on the product being offered by your startup. So the better you maintain the quality of your products, with time, this trust will start coming from the people's side, and then I guess you can become a leader.
Sure.
Great leader in this domain. Coming to your achievements, like I was amazed at all the achievements that you have done at this till this date. Coming to Forbes 30 under 30. So what was the feeling like after getting into this prestigious list, and what have been the changes in your life since then?
A couple of things. I think just like any entrepreneur who sets in its journey, right? It's always a dream to be on the list, right? So basically, having made it, I think it was awesome. I think it felt great. I think, but changes in life, I think, no, you're back to your basics again. You're hustling all day through, right? And you're probably looking at the next big thing to probably achieve, right? So that's what it is, right? Once you achieve something, you're probably looking for the next big thing. I think that was similar for me, and that is right now what is happening in my life right now.
So according to you, what is your next goal?
Let's see, probably unicorn and probably a Nasdaq.
Great, so all the best for that.
Thank you.
Apart from this, like featuring into Prime Minister Narendra Modi's official government manual, that is PM Yuva, is a serious deal for people. Like getting recognition from the PMO is something really huge. What all did you learn? Like, and I got to know that you also worked as a senior mentor in that program. So what did you learn by working in this program, working closely along with the government? So what was the overall experience?
See, a couple of things. I think though PMU could have scaled much more than we expected it, and the way it did because of pandemic was one of the major reasons. Few of the institutions that I visited in my tenure. The best part is, I think, the exposure people today have. I mean, that's one of the most important things I always feel. I mean, think about a person who does not know there can be something out of a 9 to 5 job. There could be something out of engineering. There could be something out of just being a doctor, or probably in finance, or probably taking up arts, right? There could be so many other different things. I mean, you could be an engineer but working into something else, probably in the food industry, right? Or probably in the fashion industry, right? The possibilities out there. I think that is something that is very important, and I think such programs really helps for tier 2, tier 3, and the people who does not have so much exposure, to really bring to them a new opportunity. I mean, it's up to a personal level how much one grabs the opportunity, but definitely the exposure. I think that is very important, and that is something which clearly has a great intent in terms of, say, PMU, or say the other programs that a lot of NGOs, or say a lot of incubators are today working on, to create root level entrepreneurs. I think that is something very, very important, and should definitely be backed and be carried upon.
Like something related to this can be like you said, that recognition, giving recognition and something. So if you were in the position of the government, say, what kind of scheme or program you would be willing to launch so that entrepreneurs, upcoming like budding entrepreneurs, can benefit from that, and they prevent from being into any kind of situation in which they feel like dropping up or something?
See, currently with all the government schemes that we have, the Startup India and all the DSG is investing and doing a lot of work around it, right? I think the intentions are right, but somewhere execution is where something is failing, right? If I was on the other side of the table, I would rather focus on the execution part rather than trying to bring up a new thought process, or trying to create a new ideation altogether. I mean, whatever is there is fine enough, and should first be executed, tried out. And if one fails, then probably we should try the next thing, and probably figure out why we failed. But the problem is we did not fail at it. We did not execute it. I think that is the biggest issue that India probably has in terms of the government policies around startups today. I mean, there are a lot of policies out there, but most of the startups do not even know about it. Most of the startups cannot even benefit out of it. So it's about the execution part. Definitely, if probably the 100 startups that are happening probably every month out there, if in India today, right? If all of them could get an exposure of all the possibilities that the government has for the startups, right? If that failed, then probably we could think about something, why it failed, and what could be the next thing that really works out. But since we did not fail at it, I would say execution is the first thing one should focus upon, rather than thinking about a new ideation. What could be the next big government policy out there?
Correct. Even I personally feel that, I feel that the current schemes of the government, first, the government should focus on this aspect, that this scheme reaches out to the people. If once people are being able to access them and utilize them in a proper manner, then they should go to creation of new schemes or programs. Correct, sir. We have a lot of discussions on entrepreneurship. Apart from entrepreneurship, one thing which is quite evident from your career is that you have also some interest in becoming an author or something. So what are your future plans in this domain? How you look at it?
That has always been my passion and hobby, and I think I'll keep it that way, right? Down the line, right? Because I don't plan to retire from this entrepreneurial career journey soon, right? So looking forward for a long career over here, and probably when I'm tired, I can go back to my hobby, and probably have a good time around it as well.
Yeah, correct. Even we hope that this entrepreneurial journey is continue for a longer and longer time. And having a hobby is a very important thing. That even like for me personally, I also love to sing. So apart from working in my school career or something, so in free time, even I love to sing it. So having a hobby is a great thing. Now let's get more specific to your writing journey. Is that I got went through two of your creations of books, basically the classic Retreat of Anarchy and I Met the Devil. So can you share something about these two creations of yours, like little
So
bit?
the first book was about a collection of poetry, right? So
Right.
these were about random moods and themes. So that is the reason it's called Anarchy, right?
Exactly.
And the tagline is even chaos has a pattern, right? So basically you can find a pattern probably, even though all are of different genres and so on and so forth, right? On the other hand, for I Met the Demon, it's a novel, right? It's a fictional, it's a fictional thriller, right? And I would love everyone to probably have a read, give me a feedback, probably personally, and or probably over in the public domain, right? Hit me up over LinkedIn or over say Twitter, Facebook, whatsoever, wheresoever you feel like, Instagram, wheresoever. Let me know what you guys think, and should I, if there are any suggestions or anything you'd love to include or be specific about.
Great, sir. Even I'll request the audience to go through these books and get back with the reviews. Like this was all about writing. What all you do? Like you're a writer, so what all you prefer to read? Like what are your basic genres you prefer?
See, I love
Fiction,
fiction.
non-fiction.
I love fiction, but somewhere I think I would always say, biographies have something that has a different taste of its own. I mean, have if probably if someone is an entrepreneur, someone has always read Isaac Walton, Steve Jobs, right? And the type of motivation that book brings, right? It would probably ask you to leave everything tomorrow and probably drop out of your college, right? And start something which probably creates a history, touches a billion lives, and so on and so forth, right? So biographies are something where I see it's more than fiction, because I think it's like you are creating a fictional world of your own. You're creating a fictional universe of your own, right? And that is more than something people really admire about. I mean, uh, and the biographies are written about people who have done something of that sort. I think it is greater than anything else that could probably exist on this planet.
Great, sir. Like as you quoted about autobiographies, so like who is the one person in any domain, like whether it's business domain or investment, whom you adore or who's your like role model kind of person?
So, say in terms of role model, I would say there are different aspects to it, right? In my personal life, right, I have been hugely influenced by a lot of people I have worked with, right? Right from my co-founders to probably my parents, right? But in terms of if you see at public figures, I think even there, I think people like Sachin Mansal, the ones who have created the first wave of the startups in this country. I think
Exactly.
these are exceptional journeys to look at and definitely learn from. I mean, once something is already made, it's an easier journey to follow. But creating something all from scratch, right? Getting the first foreign investments in India, creating something where thousands of people now aspire to be the next Flipkart, the next Sachin Mansal, is something different altogether.
Great, sir. Now coming to something which is a personal part of your life, you have done your post graduation from Stanford University, right? So, like, I just wanted to know about how was your experience those 2 years you spent in Stanford? Like, how
See,
was your overall experience?
one one quick thing I would say is, in a professional course, it's more about where you do not have more of the fun-filled life like most people. I am sure like VIT is reopening its doors once again, right? Post the pandemic, I think most of the colleges are reopening its doors, right? But one
Exactly,
thing
sir.
in a professional course is more of, it's about a regular routine, or say the examinations, etc. Right? But definitely, if you throw some light about my career, I think one of the most influential part about starting up was probably during my grads, right? It was not very far from Vellore. It was in Chennai, right? I did my grads in mechanical from SRM University, Chennai, right?
Right.
So both of the experience have been different, right? But definitely, I would say those were the fun-filled, late uh, late morning classes, right? and the hostel life, which probably have impressed me more than probably a professional course with a degree, which probably hangs on my wall.
Yeah, so like I can relate along with this too because we are missing this thing a lot. I'm a second year and not visited the campus up till now. So even I'm looking forward to that part, getting back to hostel, enjoying your life as well as learning. Like once you're with your peers, you get to learn a lot. The competitive feeling, everything. That's something which takes you more and more forward.
Exactly.
And that I guess is very important for personal growth of any person. So yeah, looking forward to situation getting normal and we so that we even get the opportunity to get back to the campus. Coming back to HyperXchange, sir, like HyperXchange is a startup which is we all know that it's based on refurbished electronic space. So how do you visualize this sector in the upcoming 10 years? And what are your plans to take it forward? Like we got to know that you have started expanding the head offices to Edinburgh or something. So what is your basic strategy or plan which you're going to follow for the next 10 years?
See, couple of things. I mean, this market is evolving. It's very similar to the second-hand car market in the US. So after the Great Depression, the second-hand car market in the US became 3.5 times of the new car market, right? With pandemic, with work from home, and where refurbish was more of an aspirational device to becoming a need, right? Because people
Definitely.
looking for affordable options today, and there. So with that evolution of the market, I see this market to be growing very in a huge way and with a huge scope for the next, not just next couple of years, but next couple of decades. So I would love for you people even who are sitting out there out here today listening to me to probably look into this market, because this has huge potential. There can be lot of R&D, there can be lot of structure that could be brought in this market, and definitely it's so huge a market that today not enough competitors are actually in this market. So basically what I mean over here is there's enough space for a lot of players to come and play in this market even tomorrow, right? That's how I see this market as of today, right? And in terms of growth, in terms of scale, I mean, there are a lot of ways we are restructuring how can we penetrate better in terms of, say, the Indian market, or probably grow and scale the same strategies as we are doing over here, and probably bring more of automation to scale across the globe. Those are the things we are focused on right now currently, scaling this to a global brand.
Correct, sir. We all know that this is an era related to AI, ML, or augmented reality. So, according to you, what can be the influence of all these domains on your sector? Like how HX is gonna planning to utilize them for their better future?
To answer that, I would say, we are already utilizing in deep terms. I mean, the Faraday machine I just spoke to you about, we use machine learning, image processing, artificial intelligence, and I believe down the line there are logics we are looking forward to blockchain in terms of creating more, in terms of creating a deeper penetration, right? I think these are important technologies which something somewhere we have anyway as a world evolved into, right? The technologies we are working on has somewhere to be integrated, and that is the only way forward, I would say. I mean, it's AI is not it's just about data. So without data, it's not possible in this world to probably work on something at any way, right? So anyway, we while utilizing it, I think a lot of things we are looking forward to, even in the future endeavors, to probably create based on data a lot of predictions, a lot of more automation and more intelligence.
Great, sir. Uh, Getting to the next part, if not an entrepreneur, then what would your career choice be? Like we are omitting being an author in this question.
And that's a tough question because I have already chosen my career. But if not an entrepreneur, I would say, I would love to be a cricketer, right? That has always been a passion. I mean, our days of childhood gully cricket is over, but that is something that really I'm really passionate about even today, right? I would probably try my hand at that. Let's see, probably sometime again.
Great, sir. Even I have a lot of interest in cricket. So yeah. So finally, this one question which I prefer asking any successful person, that what have been a constant source of motivation throughout your successful journey? like one thing which has always kept you going, like whenever there
Right.
are times of hardships or something, what thing which is makes you go ahead always?
I think, see, we all have a reason for something we are doing, right? I mean, think about yourself. You are probably spending an evening out of your normal, say, studies, etc., doing this podcast with me, right? You have you're doing this because you have a certain reason around it. You have a certain vision around it, right? We all have a
Exactly.
vision when we are into something, right? In our lowest days, I think that is something that really motivates us and keeps us going. The persistence part I just spoke to you about. You have a certain dream, no matter what, you just feel probably it's just one more day that I need to, live through to be over there. It might take you a decade to be over there, but you just feel it's just one more day that I need to live through to be over there. And I think that's the only way and the only biggest motivation around when you're into something. Nothing else can make you stay on probably a journey like entrepreneurship more than say 6 months or a year. If that vision is not clear to you or that vision is not strong enough for you to call back every single morning again back.
Yeah, exactly. So, like from my personal point of view, like the reason why I'm doing something should be always clear in my mind. Because if I have that clarity in my mind, I am being able to do anything which I want. If I have the reason clear, that's the main source of motivation for me as well. So it is a great like discussion. Is there something else you want to share about yourself or something like before we could wrap up?
Any questions from anyone from the audience? Anyone would love to ask me anything? Happy to answer. Else, all good.
Okay. Hmm. Anyone has something to ask or something? Or actually, sir, this is a podcast, so everyone is on mute or something. So we can wrap up with one last question, I guess. Like, what advice would you want to give to like our cell members, something like what we can follow from, because we are at a very tender age. So how can we? What suggestions you want to give us, like which we should keep in mind for the
Uh,
future?
Sure. I think second year was probably the year I was HX. All right, and second year was the year somewhere the execution started as well, right? I was what? So you guys are around 19, I guess, right? That was the
Yes.
exact year I started out HX, right? Somewhere we though incorporated a year later, but I think this is the time to fail. I mean, do everything you want to, right? Do 10,000 different things. Probably, just 12 months or 24 months later, you can figure out what is one thing you want to focus your career upon, right? So this is a time to fail, try enough number of things. There's no greater joy than trying something, failing at it, or say
Trying again.
figuring that one thing out which you're passionate enough and can probably live all your life with.
So like we can summarize it like that college life is full of uh, ups and downs, and you need to be persistent always. That keep on trying various things till you figure out what's your favorite passion or what's your dream task for
Exactly.
your career. So with this, we come to the end of the third episode of Ruminate. Thank you so much, sir, for taking us, talking to us today and sharing your experiences. I'm sure all the viewers will have something to learn and take back from this podcast. We wish more and more success to your startup, and I hope that you achieve all the dreams you want. So with this, we end up the session. So guys, please like this podcast and let us know your reviews in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and also hit the bell icon so that next you get notified every time we come up with new episodes. So thanks a lot, everyone, and have a great day.